Hello, everyone. I'm Guy Podjarny, and I'm here to talk to you today about dev-first security, sort of a different view of how do we sort of approach security that tries to sort of focus more on the sort of modern development surrounding. Um, I'm going to share my perspective, a little bit of like a market stance, as well as what is dev-first security. But maybe more importantly, I'll share a lot of specific practices from smart people that I've had the opportunity to talk to about how they tackle security inside their organization, so we can learn from them and we can share. So a little bit about me. I'm indeed Guy Podjarny, or GuyPod on the sort of the Twitter spheres and the likes. I'm the co-founder and president here at Snyk. And before that, I was the CTO at Akamai after they acquired a company I founded called Blaze. During that stretch, I worked on web performance, very much kind of another aspect of sort of the world of DevOps. And then prior to that, I spent about a decade in AppSec. You can say before it was cool, not sure if it's cool today. But definitely, kind of in its early days, building some of the first web app security products. I also, do a decent amount of this sort of type of public interactions. I host a podcast that I'll refer to a decent amount here, talking to sort of smart people and trying to give them a platform to share their security practices. And I've written a bunch of books with O'Reilly, including to that, there's links about you getting that you can get a free copy to them on the right around securing open source libraries and serverless security. So with that, let's dig into the talk itself. And I'm going to start with a word that not everybody likes, which is digital transformation. And it's, it's a buzzword, and buzzwords can contain complexity, but it's also a very real thing. It's a change. It's a big kind of wave of evolution, revolution in how businesses approach the world of digital, and how we build software, how we run them, and how we just operate our businesses. There's a lot of ways to slice and dice digital transformation, and I'm going to use this split and say the digital transformation, at a very high level, is composed of three big buckets. One is more software. The second is cloud technologies, a different sort of foundation of technology on which applications run, which interact very closely with a different set of methodologies, which I'll refer to as DevOps methodologies. Fully appreciative that, again, this is there's a lot of ways to sort of look at digital transformation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig into each one of these three in the context of security and see how they affect it. And so more software, simply put, equals more software risk. And I'm not going to belabor this point too much, but really, as businesses get digital, as more of your of your business, of your revenue, of your operation, goes online and goes digital, then really more of your risk, more of your data, more of your revenue risk, all of those become digital as well. This is a quote from James Kaplan, who heads the cybersecurity practice for McKinsey, and he was on the podcast, and he has this sort of great blog post as well about how security is the linchpin, cybersecurity is the linchpin of digital transformation. But specifically, he points out quite simply to say, for many companies, cybersecurity is increasingly a critical business issue, not just a technology issue. And even points out, this reference to a CISO conversation that he had, that hedge funds didn't really used to care about cybersecurity, for instance, and now they're obsessed with it, just as one example of many. So not going to belabor this point too much, definitely not a technical point, but just to say, for many businesses, if you live in the technology world, this might be obvious that, sort of tech is at the center, but for many businesses, it's this shift of, what is the chief security officer focused on, from maybe more physical security or fraud or other aspects, to more and more being related to software risk. Getting a bit more technical, the second kind of aspect of cybersecurity is cloud. And cloud, there's a lot that you can say about the security of cloud. You can talk about how it's new technology, and every new technology introduces some risks. You can talk about how it's less mature and it's been embraced a bit more quickly maybe than its security kind of aspects have been researched, or just about the sort of the network perimeter change going from data center to something that is hosted online. But what I think is more interesting is that cloud changes the scope of the application. Let's dig into what I mean by that. So in the pre-cloud era, again, using a little bit of black and white terms, in the pre-cloud era, you have this sort of heavy IT stack on which applications are built. You there's some hardware management, maybe some colo, some data center, some VM, so vSphere running. You've got some Cisco routers managing these kind of network access and what port is open, some VMs. an Oracle database sort of thing on site, and then you have some code and some libraries. And if the app teams want to engage with this sort of central IT stack, then they open tickets, you ask for some provisioning of some components, and you interact, and it's owned by teams that are relatively central, and they manage those components. In the cloud surrounding, the layers remain mostly the same. You still need to control network access, you still need to manage the OS, you still need a database, but suddenly those might be a VPC on AWS. They might be a container that manages that AWS, OS, and needs to be patched. It might be a cloud database service that you are using, or maybe some MongoDB that you've sort of pulled in. And so the components are there, the functionality is still there, but the way that these things are pulled is very different. Now, instead of being managed by the central IT team, they're a part of the application. They get deployed and they are packaged up in the same area, in the same repository, through the same build pipeline as the code and the libraries of the application itself. And that's very significant, because it means where the decisions are made that impact these securities, and where the solutions need to be placed to help tackle security concerns with each of these layers is different. It needs to go from IT security to application security. And just to say that this trend will continue, like this motion of going into the app is more and more, and it's predicates on DevOps. We'll talk about that in a sec. But you can see data, you can see CDN, which I've sort of seen a lot in Akamai. The API gateways, or the use of third-party services, whether in the cloud or otherwise. All of these are becoming a part of the app. They're packaged up into one unit, one self-sufficient package that controls a lot of these different aspects and helps them run in this sort of uniform synchronization. And so for security, that's very important. We need to